whenever we want to write any user defined function in our program, then what syntax we have to follow? See, first we have to write return type of that function. Return type, this is the data type actually. There are multiple data types. We have already seen that integer, character, float, double, long, all data types are there. Means our function is not, function can return any value. We have already seen in that main we return that 0 value from that main, and that is of type integer. That's why return type of that main function we have to mention like int. Okay, in that way, that is nothing but first we have to mention return type, then we can give any name to that function, that is name of function, and then in a bracket we can pass arguments with data type, like here data type and then argument 1. In the same way data type, then argument 2. Any number of arguments we can pass to this function. Then just we have to write this block and statements in that function we have to write. This is just a syntax to define a function. Now see what I have written here. This is what return type. Then function name, and here any number of arguments with data type we can pass, and whatever functionality, whatever steps you want to do, that we have to write here. Those are nothing but the statements, or this is nothing but a function block. Okay, for example, suppose I want to calculate area of a circle. In that case, how to write function, that I am going to explain. See, here we will write float first, then area, and then here again I am writing float r or radius. See, just I am writing it, don't worry, I am going to explain everything about this. Then here I will write like this, float like a, then a equals to 3.142 into that rad, and then return that a. Okay, this is the function definition actually. Now what is exactly this, what is the meaning of this, everything I am going to discuss, don't worry. Now in main I will call this function like this, void main. Okay, now see what is this float, what is this area, and what is this. See, this area is nothing but a name of a function. Okay, I want to calculate area of a circle, and for that I can give any name following identifier rules. Actually, whatever identifier rules, those should be followed, that it can have alphanumeric characters, then it should start with an alphabet, then only underscore is a special symbol that is allowed. Those identifier rules again should be followed while giving function name. Now here I want to calculate area of a circle, that's why I have given here name area. You can give area C, area circle, circle A, anything. Actually it should be a meaningful name. Okay, now next one is here I have given area name. Now see, this radius rad, and here I have written float. This is nothing but an argument to the function, means whatever input you want to pass while calling that function, that its data type and some variable name you have to mention here. Means whenever I will call this function, I will write like this, see, area, and then I will pass like 2.5 suppose. What does it mean? This is nothing but I am calling this function. Okay, now this is what function name, and inside that in round bracket I have passed 2.5. Now what does it mean? I want to calculate area of a circle having radius 2.5. Now whatever I am passing, that should get used here while calculation of that area, and for that I have to declare some argument here. And see what will happen here exactly. Here suppose I am writing like this, float x, and then x equals to area 2.5, means whatever calculated area by that function, that will get stored inside that x. Now how it will work, first we will see that, then you will get exact idea about this argument. See, whenever control, always execution will start from an end statement. Here I will write like this, printf area of circle having radius 2.5 equals to percent f comma a. Okay, because of space I have written in this way, just write it in single line. Okay, now see, execution will start here. Float x, after that x, for x 4 bytes will get reserved in a memory, and initially it will have garbage value. After that what will happen, here I am writing like this, x is equals to area 2.5. What is the meaning of this one? Area 2.5, this part is nothing but a function call. Getting? This is nothing but a function call. Whenever this statement will be executed by that processor, then what will happen? Control, that execution control will go here wherever that function is defined. Getting? Now see, here we are calling that function. Whenever that function will be called, automatically control will passes to that function, and then this 2.5 whatever we are passing, that should gets copied inside this RAD. How? See, again this RAD, that for that again 4 bytes will be allocated in a memory, because its data type is float. We have mentioned float, and here there is only one argument. We can pass any number of arguments to that function, this with a data type in this function definition. Now see, whenever this will gets executed, that 2.5 will gets copied inside this RAD variable. Okay, and now this 2.5 are inside RAD. Now here one more variable we have declared. Now control will go here and will start executing this function, and then again control will back here. Don't worry about that. Now see, here whenever that in this way the RAD will have 2.5 value whatever passed while function calling. Now here float a we have written. Again that a variable will gets created, and initially it will have some garbage value, no value will be there. And now here I have written like this, C 3.142 into RAD whatever calculated area here using this formula, and by this 2.5 will get fetched in this RAD and RAD. That value will be taken, and that area will be calculated, and that will get stored inside this A. Let it is 9 point something. Okay, in that way any value will be there. I have not calculated here. See, now let it is 9.5. This is just an assumption, don't worry, I have not calculated it exactly. Now that value will get stored inside A, and that will be returned. Here I am not displaying that value, whatever value of that A I am not displaying here, like area equals to percent f comma a. In that way we can display here also, or we can return that from that function. There are two ways. Okay, so I am returning that value of A from this function. Okay, means after executing all these statements, after calculation of area, whatever result, here we are returning from that function outside. Means what? Now that whatever return, that will get fetched here at this place, and that 9.5 will get copied in that X here. In this way the execution is. Now see, here what is the data type of that A? Float. Whatever we are returning from that function outside, that we can return with the help of this return keyword. Okay, this return is a keyword. Now with the help of that return keyword, we can return a single value from that function outside. And now here I am passing or returning that A value, whatever calculated value of A from this function, and its data type we have to mention here only as a return type of that function. This is nothing but return type. Getting? Now here that will get returned and will get copied inside S, and after that in here this statement will get executed like area of circle having radius 2.5 is equals to that 9.5. In this way the function execution will be there. Now what is this return type? Whatever value we are returning from that function, its data type first we have to mention while writing function definition in this way. Now then we have given name to that function as area, that second that name of function we have to write, and after that in round brackets we can write any number of arguments with data type. Here I am only passing radius, that's why I have written here only one argument like float and rad. We can write any number. Suppose we want to do addition of two numbers, then we can write like this. Let both are integers. Then return type will be again integer. Why? Because sum of two whole numbers will be always whole number. Now I will write like this sum, then int a comma int b. Here again you can write any identifier. There is no any restriction. Now see, one more point keep in mind. Whenever control will pass here, that rad will gets created and that 2.5 will gets copied here in that rad variable. Again a variable will be created and whatever result calculated value will get stored inside this a. And after that, whenever we are returning value from that function outside, we are returning whatever value of it will gets returned from that function. This whenever this return will occur, that function execution will get stopped. Again if we are not returning any value from that function outside, again at this point the function execution will get stopped. Whenever the function execution gets stopped, automatically whatever memory allocation taken place for these variables, local variables of that function, that whole will get erased totally. Getting, always keep in mind this point. Means after here, whenever control will come here, then this will get erased. Inside memory there will be no any variable like that rad or a anything. Okay, in this way. Now see here, instead of this x, means x is equals to area 2.5, instead of 2.5 let I am passing area whatever accepted from user. In that way I can do the same program like this. Here I will write void main and here I am declaring that float a comma let r, and in that r I will accept radius from user only. Means I have to give message to the user like printf enter radius. In this way, and then we have to accept that radius first, like using scanf %f comma ampersand r, and then we will pass that radius to this function like a equals to area, and then we will pass that r. That is again possible. Here whatever radius user is entering, that will get stored inside this r. Let it is 1.5, anything, it may be anything. And what that radius will, whatever value of that 1.5 will get copied inside this rad. Whenever control will come here, that rad will get created and then that value will get copied here, let 1.5. Again this a variable will get created here and whatever area will get calculated and that value will get returned, and this totally this part will get ignored. Now this a and this a is different. This a is local to this area function and this a is local to this main. Both are totally different. Okay, these are having their own function scope and these are having their own function scope. Okay, now see, whenever that a value will get calculated and will return from this function, then this totally this part will get erased and whatever return value that will get stored inside this a, and that will get displayed onto the output screen. Now see here, in a function calling I have written here r, and in function definition I have written here rad. See, this r is called as a actual argument. See, actually what value we are passing, that is called as a actual argument. While means through function call whatever arguments we are passing, those are called as actual arguments. And here in function definition in rad, that value of that actual argument will get copied, and this rad is called as a formal argument. Getting? In this way we can write function definition. Now see here, whatever function definition, let after main, suppose I am writing this function definition, then one more point we have to insert here before main, that is nothing but function declaration. That is always compulsory. Now what is exactly that function declaration? like this only in that function declaration. Just don't we are not writing actual body. Before main we will just declare the function like this. We will write return type, function name and arguments. There no this variable names, whatever we are writing, that is not compulsory while declaring the function. Just give semicolon after that. This is nothing but syntax of function declaration. I am telling. See now how to declare this area function, that I am going to explain. Suppose in a program first we have written this main, and after that I am writing this function definition. Then in that case function declaration is always compulsory. Here see I am calling the function first, and after that suppose we have written this function definition. Okay, this is what function call. This is function definition. Means after calling that function, suppose we have written function definition, then compiler can generate error. Always remember. Why? Because by default compiler will always consider return type of every function as an integer. Means here also compiler will consider return type of that area function as an integer, because till at this point compiler don't know where is that area function, because after main we have written that function definition. That's why compiler can give you error in that case, or sometime warning in that case. Now to avoid that type of error, always better to write function declaration first before using it, before calling it. It is always must. There is no need to define function before calling it. There is no need. But there is always compulsion that you have to declare a function before calling it, and then you can define it at any place. Then there will be no any problem. Now how to declare that function? Just write whatever header here, means whatever return type of that function, that like function return type means here float. Then function name is area, and here we are passing one argument only of type float, and just give here semicolon. Okay, here see I have not written that rad. It is not compulsory. If you are writing that rad, then okay. If you are not writing, then again okay. Here we are just mentioning what is the return type of that function, what is the name of the function, and what are the arguments, how many number of arguments, which type of arguments. That just we are giving that type of information to the compiler. This is nothing but function declaration. Okay, this is just a function declaration. Now this one is a function call, and this one is a function definition. And before writing this function declaration, we can include header files like hash include that stdio.h. Okay, means in C how to write program. First we can write that header file, then function declaration, then we can call that function, and then we can write that function definition. Okay, now see here I am going to explain one program with the help of this function concept. I will write first here a command, that is multiplication of two numbers with the help of functions we have to do in this program. Okay, like here multiplication of two numbers. This is just a comment. Now what part we have to first write? That is hash include stdio.h. Okay, because in this function, in this program we are going to use that printf and scanf. Hash include stdio.h. Now while writing function, first we have to declare that function. Okay, that part I am going to write first. Now how to write that function declaration? Means just mentioning the details of that data type, return type, then function name and arguments. See, while doing that multiplication of two numbers, here I am considering whole numbers. Means we want to multiply like 3 into 4 in that way. Means here two arguments will be there of type integer to that function name, maybe any multi. Okay, or we can give that product as a name to that function, and then return type of that function will be again integer. Okay, now here int will be the return type, function name is let product, and then two arguments we will pass here like int a comma int b. Now here this is a declaration, that's why it is not compulsory to write this a and b. We can just write data types of two arguments here. Okay, now next point is function. Here we will write main function like void main. Here see, suppose I want to multiply two numbers and those two numbers I want to accept from user, then it is possible. Now how I will do that? Like here two variables we will declare like x comma y, and then we will accept that those two numbers from user, like print up enter two numbers. Okay, then scanf. Now see, in main what I have written, three variables we have declared like x, y, z. Then we have given message to the user like enter two numbers. Then user will enter two numbers. Here three variables, for that memory will get allocated like x, y, z, 2 bytes. Now whatever user will enter, that will get stored inside x and y. And here what I have written, the function name and two values I am passing here. Whatever user will enter, that those values of x and y will get passed to that function. Okay, and here see, I am calling that function. Okay, just function name we have written and we are just passing two arguments to this, and this is nothing but function call. Now we can call this function any number of times. Okay, actually for that only we have to write functions. Okay, now see, product x comma y. Here whatever value, whatever data type of x and y, that is integer, that will be checked. Here see, I am writing int comma int, that's why it is matching. It should matched with function declaration. Means suppose in function declaration I have written only one integer and here I am passing two integers, then of course compiler will give you error. Okay, because here there is only one argument we are mentioning, only one data type we have given, and here we are passing two integers, then compiler will give you error. If we are we have written here float, okay, and here we are passing two integers, again compiler will give you error. Means whatever order of arguments, whatever sequence of arguments, it should get matched. Number of arguments, data type of arguments, everything should get matched with this function declaration, and in that function they call, both should get matched, whatever number of arguments and type of arguments. Again sequence also, means suppose there is first argument is of type integer and second argument is of type float, let in this way it is okay, no problem will be there. Means we can multiply one integer value with one float value and we have to return again float value in that case. But here also we have to pass first integer and second float. If we are passing first float, second integer, again type mismatch will be there. Means here argument, whatever we are passing in function call and in function definition declaration, what we have mentioned, that should be matched. Always keep in mind. Now we have to write function definition. How to write that? See. We will write data return type integer, then function name, it is a product, and then two arguments we are passing here. Here of course we have to give variable names while writing argument list. Why? Because we have to use that in that code. Okay, we have to compulsory, we have to write here variable names. In function declaration we are not using that, that's why no need to write that x or y, a or b, whatever variable names in that argument list. But here that identifiers, whatever variable names, you have to compulsory write, because we are going to use that in code. Okay, that is nothing but the input. Now here I will write like let num1 n1 comma n2, integer n2. Now we have to do that product or multiplication of those two numbers, and we have to return that. It is compulsory. Why? Because we have mentioned that return type of that product function is integer. That's why we have to compulsory return it. Okay, always keep in mind, if we are mentioning return type as an integer, then it is always compulsory to return integer value from that function. If we are not returning that value, integer value, or we are not returning anything from that function, and if we have mentioned return type of that function as an integer, then of course compiler will give you error like function should return a value. Getting? So always keep in mind, here we have written int, then always compulsory, it is compulsory that we have to return integer value from that function. Now see here, I will take one more variable, let it is p, and in that p I will compute that n1 into n2, and that whatever result that is already inside that p, that we will return, like here return p in this way. Now this is what function definition, actually what is the processing, whatever processing is required, that we have done here. Okay, this is nothing but a function definition. Now see how it will work. Here before first stdio.h we have included, then we have written that function declaration. Whenever execution always starts here and ends here. See, whenever this sentence or this statement will get executed, like x, y, z, int x, y, z, 2 bytes for that x, y, z will get reserved. Then this message will get displayed onto the output screen like enter two numbers. Suppose user is entering 2 and 3. Here that will get copied inside x and y. Now here we are calling that function like product x, y. Okay, to execute this statement, first control should pass to this function here. Okay, now whenever control will pass here, that function call will pass two values, like first value is of 2 and second value is of 3. The 2 and 3 will be passed from this function call, and the values of that x and y, these are copied inside this n1 and n2. Those values of x and y will get copied inside n1 and n2. For that, here n1 and n2 will get created. Okay, values of that 2 and 3 will get passed and will get copied inside here n1 and n2 in the same sequence. Okay, now see what will happen. Here always remember this x and y, we are using these variables, or we are passing this x and y through function call. In function call we are mentioning whatever arguments, those are called as actual arguments. Again I am repeating, it is very much important point. Okay, and whatever arguments mentioned in that function definition, here n1 and n2, these are called as what? See, just put what we have to call to n1 and n2 in the comment box. Okay, now see, here we have written that integer p. Now again here p variable will get created in a memory, and then n1 into n2, n1 and n2 means 2 into 3 will get computed, that is 2 into 3, that is 6 will get stored inside this p. And here only we are not displaying that value of p, whatever product, we are just returning that value from this function outside, and that is data type of that p is again integer, that's why we have mentioned here integer. Again that 6 value will be returned. Now this function execution has finished, and that's why this memory will get freed, will get deallocated. Okay, now p means 6 value will get replaced here at this point, and that because of this assignment operator in z, that 6 will get stored. Getting? Now next printf product equals to %d comma z, means here that product will get displayed onto the output screen like product is equal to 6. In this way output you will get. Getting? If user is entering any other value like 10 comma 20 suppose, then that 10 and 20 whatever values of that x and y will get copied inside this n1 and n2, and then whatever result will get copied again in z, and then that will get displayed as a product. In this way we can use functions in C language while writing program. Okay, now see here, I am here passing x and y integer, two integers. Okay, means here we can say type of this function like function with arguments and with return type. See here the function is having both argument as well as return type. Means we can say about this function as a function with argument as well as return type. This is the type of function.